Hey, everybody, this is Perch. Let's get right to the mail. Dear Perch, I recently read the latest World Under Doom. Actually, if I'm being completely honest, I read the comic on a pirate site and didn't actually pay for it. Whoops, whoops, my bad. Uh, what? I don't have the passion to care. I should. It's not good. What do you like? What do you do? You can't put the genie back in the bottle here, so it is what it is. But oh well. I just to have some. I mean, at the very least, we have some humility about when we're doing that. I mean, it is. I get it. I get it. But still, there are some people are trying to sell those things, and their livelihoods depend on it. And even if you totally hate Marvel for a variety of reasons, and you could hate them because they're too woke, you could hate them because apparently they support Israel, according to Twitter. Who knows why you hate them? But the retailers are just they're just trying to make their nut. Anyway, it is what it is. All right, back to the mail. In the comic, Doctor Doom correctly points out to Reed Richards that the various heroes could have easily solved the world's problems if they really wanted to, but they chose not to. Characters like Iron Man could use his technology to effectively end world hunger. However, the comic doesn't go quite far enough. By the way, before we get there, I'll throw out this. I believe Ryan North is moving to DC or has DC Comics titles coming up. I think I have heard that. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I think from an editorial perspective or from a Marvel perspective, it's dumb to allow that panel, that comic to go out with Doom basically telling the heroes, you guys could have stopped all the crime, but you chose not to, because it kind of like the piracy site. You can't put the genie back in the bottle on that one. And it's not gonna, this won't make for better comics. And it kind of, I mean, if I'm Marvel, then this is a stretch, keep in mind. I'd be kind of irritated, certainly at North, but also the editor of the comic, because basically North is going to skip off to DC, or he can kind of do comics over there. But I mean, these are the kinds of things that tend to really hurt comics, really hurt the lineup, the fictional storytelling of comics. But anyway, we'll get to more of that in a minute. But I don't think having that panel is a good idea. I think that's going to come back to haunt them a lot. Or they're going to have to kind of memory hole and pretend it didn't exist. And why would you want that? Why would you want that in your comics? Do you really want to have, to say, hey, these scenes, these big dramatic moments in the comics that we do, especially events, we'd like everybody to just kind of forget those, please, because they're not convenient storytelling over time. But anyway, whatever. Let's finish this mail out. I don't, where are we? Okay. I don't think Dr. Doom went far enough. The reality is, the Marvel Universe has several psychics, characters like Professor X. We have seen comics where the psychic's powers were augmented through Cerebro or other devices that have changed the minds of mobs and caused them to go home and stop looting or stop hating mutants. There have been X-Men comics where this kind of psychic command went out for an entire state and maybe country. We've seen Doctor Strange erase the memory of Peter Parker from Spider-Man across the planet. Since we now know the characters can do this, why wouldn't Professor X or Doctor Strange or Emma Frost or a character like that remove the desire for people to rape or murder or commit various crimes? It feels like any serial killer that shows up in a comic book is a result of Professor X not doing his job. They can scan human minds across the planet. Surely they would be able to pick up on people that are about to commit mass murder, and wouldn't it make sense for the heroes to stop them? I understand that preemptive justice was handled as part of Civil War II, but this is a little different. This isn't reading into the future. This is literally changing people's current desires so they do not commit horrible crimes. Don't you think this is a problem? Curious to get your thoughts. Sorry about stealing. Okay, all right, well, fair enough. Sorry about that, stealing. Um, eh, anyway, um, yeah, I mean, look, I've said this in videos for a long time. I've often said it for environmental issues because it's always seemed a little bit silly that you have a Reed Richards or a Tony Stark or characters like over in DC, Mister Terrific, Superman. You have characters that, in theory, should be able to help the environmental crisis to fix it. So if you have like, John Kent walking around protesting for the environment, what is the point of that? And even the argument of, well, he's using his presence to raise awareness so that, it's not just a superhero's job to fix the planet, it's everyone's job and everybody should be helping out. Yeah, that sounds great, except the superheroes have abilities that regular humans do not and have the power to do it. It makes the superheroes kind of dicks if they're like, "Well, we could fix this problem, but we prefer you to because, really the common man should be worrying about the environment. We're over here dealing with Bizarro and, and Brainiac and that kind of shit. So you're on your own, folks." I mean, you know what I mean? It doesn't play well. But I like your example better, frankly, because yeah, in comics we have seen many times the characters casually race. I mean, for that matter, Emma Frost, who's been a bad guy, and a good guy, she's been both sides of this thing, heel and face. We have seen her casually remove mines. We've seen moments where the characters, including Emma Frost, including other psychics, will say things like, "Oh, that guy over there in the other side of the restaurant, she's just casually scanning mines. Like that guy is a bigot who hates gay people, and I just gave him a weird fetish where every time there's a bell ring, he starts sucking his thumb and poops his pants." And it's like, ah, ha, ha, what's funny? But okay, if you're doing that and you have no qualms about not just kind of entering someone's mind, but inserting commands and just doing things, which she does very casually, why wouldn't she just walk around going, you know what? No rape today. No, no murder. Hey, here's, some gangs who are gonna go at each other because for whatever fucking reason. And you got a bunch of 15, 16-year olds with guns here, and we're just gonna, eliminate that desire to have a gun instead, give them a drive to go to school and learn how to code. It's a meme or whatever, right? Like, why it is impossible for characters in the Marvel universe who have these powers and have shown that they can affect massive amounts of people at a time. I mean, how many comics have we seen where Professor X shows up and there's like a mob chasing Nightcrawler around? And I mean, the very first appearance of Nightcrawler, he does this for an angry mob, about 30, 40 people in a town. So he just he gets them to just forget Nightcrawler. So he's entering their mind, he's controlling them, he's altering their memory. While you're in there, you don't think you'd just be like, hey, this guy has a weird little animal fetish. We're just going to go ahead and remove that. I mean, wouldn't you? The characters are making a conscious choice not to do that. Well, you see, Perch, that's much more ingrained thing down in the head. It's not as simple as just removing a command. I don't know. I think it's as simple. I mean, again, the characters have shown this ability. They've completely removed the memory of someone from, in theory, years and years. I mean, in Nightcrawler's origin, there was, years of growing up being hated. The Professor X just removed. So I don't know. I mean, again, doesn't it make sense? But I guess to the bigger point, and I agree with you on the World Under Doom comic. And a bunch of sites picked it up. I think AIPT did, and Bleeding Cool did, and I think maybe even the Beat did. And they're like, "Oh, isn't this clever? Nobody's ever thought of this before." Yeah, people have thought of it before. They don't do it because it's dangerous to do it. It's a bad idea to do this. Once you do it, it kind of wrecks a lot of what superheroes do. This idea of, yeah, you don't need to say out loud that the heroes actually have the ability to make all these changes and improve the world, but don't. Once you have Doctor Doom saying this, you've kind of screwed a bunch of different stories. You know, the way comics work is there's a lot of suspension of disbelief. And writers, I think, particularly in the last 10 years or so, try and get overly clever. But they're like, well, it's not subversion of expectations, but it's in that same boat of, hey, why don't we go ahead and we'll just say out loud something that people don't usually say, and the readers will be like, ooh, that's clever. That's kind of how it comes across. And there's a little bit of, Doctor Doom is the mouthpiece for this writer, and I have no idea if it's like I said before, I don't know if this is a case of, short timers club where North is like, well, this may fuck comics, but what do I care? I'm off to another company. I'm not, I wouldn't presume, right? I don't know. Um, but regardless of all that, it's not good. This stuff does have an impact in the comics, and I mean, basically, like I said, you basically are setting up your readers that they have to forget big plot points in comics, and this is a big plot point in comic. It was a beat where finally Doctor Doom was dethroned because Reed Richards out debated him in the book, and the debate that Doctor Doom's big gotcha moment was one that's like, you heroes don't do that. And I feel like later in this comic, we're going to get a scene where the heroes are sitting around a table going, Dr. Doom was right about some things. We could be doing more. We should be doing more. And then you can get Marvel putting out a comic called like I don't know, the Avengers normal people, or I don't know, the Avengers help, fixing shit. It's going to be like, they're going to do little storylines where the idea is that, hey, the Avengers are actually solving some more down to earth problem for people. And the sales of that will be shitty. It'll be canceled after 5 issues, and they're going to be back to fighting Ultron. And like I said, you need to have a level of suspension of disbelief in comics. The heroes could do all these things. It's best not to bring them up and rub the reader's nose in it, because otherwise you're just pointing out something that you can't really fix, can't go anywhere. And by the way, if you did say, you know what, fuck it, the right answer here is let's have this storyline. Let's have Emma Frost and Professor X remove rape from all the minds of the people, and then remove murder, and solve the gun crisis and all this other kind of stuff. The challenge is that wouldn't be a very exciting comic of them doing this. Poor artist has to draw like images of like random people walking around going, ugh, I was about to do something, but I don't remember what that was. Now I think I'll go plant flowers. Like, I mean, that's not going to be fun to draw. And then what do you have after that comic? Then you're down to like, well, I guess everything's. I mean, it's just not something to wander into. It is better to just stick to those battles with Ultron, or Lex Luthor in a giant superpowered suit, or whatever. And it's very tempting for writers to be like, yeah, but I want to stretch my wings and do a real world problem. Yeah, I'm sure it is. But in the context of the Marvel universe, the DC universe, these big shared universes, it's just not the comic you were hired to write. It's not that kind of universe. So move on. Over in the world of manga, you don't see like Berserk, tackling, whatever, pronouns. It's a bad example, but just, you don't see them tackling like things like that. In this, in this episode of Jujutsu Kaisen, we're going to be tackling slow download speeds and internet access for third world countries. It's like, no, nobody wants that. Yeah, through various magic shenanigans, you probably could fix that, but that's not what this comic is about. Let's not do it. All right. Thanks for listening.